Hello again, welcome to another draw along, and today we're going to do a Conan-esque character, a Conan-like character. I don't want to say 100% Conan because, well, the inspiration is Conan, but I feel as though I don't know enough about Conan to really justify saying that, I'm doing the quintessential Conan. But yeah, the inspiration is Conan, basically. And so I'm doing a Conan here, my own interpretation. I've seen the movies, and when I was a kid, I had the comics. I can't remember what age, but I had a couple of his comics. I picked them up at, believe it or not, a 7-Eleven. They used to have these little racks where they'd sell comics. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what's going on here. I just did this rough sketch before I started the video because I was trying to flesh out composition, and what I decided would be best is to have this sort of dynamic pose where we're kind of down underneath him and he's up above us, so we're sort of like looking up at him. And right now I'm just sketching out some more stuff. I think I'll have a belt that covers up the waist around there. Yeah. So now I'm just fleshing out some details. There's all different ways to do Conan. I've seen him portrayed differently in the comic books and obviously the movies, plural. You have the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing going on. One thing I do want to keep in mind is since we're at a lower view here, there should be some foreshortening going on. So his legs here, actually knee should be about up here. Yeah. So that means everything will look a little bit shorter. But at the same time, keep in mind that he is a very large character. He should stand, I don't know, what would you expect? I wouldn't find it too strange for him to be 7 foot tall even, because he's Conan, you know. Superheroes, when it comes to like Marvel, DC, manner of drawing, they make, well, first you have to know that like to make your average human person, your human character, they'll usually be, the length of their body would be, what do they say, 6 to 8 times their head size. So if his head is yay big, then the body would be, 6 to 8 times bigger than that. Usually 8. I don't think it's, maybe I'm wrong when I say 6 to 8. It's just 8. I guess it would be a shorter, cartoony kind of character if there were only 6. So, yeah, his hands should be falling a little bit higher, maybe about here. Yeah, about the crotch area is where the hands fall. Remember, people can scratch themselves and scratch their own butts and crotches and stuff, so that's where the hands land. You can't scratch your own knees, so if you see your hands, when you're drawing hands and it starts to go down close to the knees, that's a little too long. Alright, I've already got some anatomical problems going on here. This is supposed to be sort of a speed painting, but I do want to sketch out some of the roughness, just the anatomy and stuff like that with the regular pencil here. So, at least by the time I get into painting, I don't have to worry so much about that stuff. Let's see what we have here. Right around this area, can you see how it seems kind of flat? I'm trying to figure out why that is. This part should pop up a little bit further, I guess. That's flat. This should go back. I'm still sensing this. I don't know why. When I look at it this way, it seems okay. Might just be me. Shoulders up here. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and I don't have much to say at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and put this into time lapse, and I'll be right back. You can watch the time lapse. Okay, so I got up to this point, and I'm looking at it, and I realize myself something's wrong. He looks a little cartoony. Looks a little cartoony. Why does he look like one of these like plastic toys or something? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking at my sizes and heights and everything. I made the head smaller. Still didn't look right. And then suddenly I just say, wait a minute, his hands are way too big. I don't know why. It just, that was the problem. I think. Let's have a try with smaller hands. His hands should be at rest. And technically speaking, I think we should see all of his fingers here. Because we're beneath him, his hands are at a rest position. They don't have to be in a perfect form or anything, but well, it just has to be smaller for starters. Let's try that, see if that helps the problem. It does help a little, although it's a deformed hand. Hands are frequently referred to as the hardest thing to draw. I don't disagree with that at all. This here, even with the details of the fingers, it's like if you want to go and just draw a hand, it's not necessarily the hardest thing in the world, just drawing one hand. But when you go in there and have a full body, and you have to consider, getting the hands in, that does help with the cartooning thing, making his hands smaller. I think in cartoons we have a tendency to exaggerate certain things, the hands being one of them. The sword is obviously, super big, but that was part of design decision. I wanted it to be like that. I might even bring it down a little bit. It's about the length of his body, which is ridiculous. I did want it to be exaggerated, but maybe not that much. It's supposed to be a big, Conan's like a superhuman. He's all just as much the superhero, I think, as any other Superman or Batman or anyone like that. So he deserves a proper, oversized weapon. But that's what makes things a bit cartoony sometimes. If you exaggerate things too much, then you lose that realistic, dramatic feeling, which is often what we're going for, is actually not to be forgotten. It's just drama. And some big knuckles coming around here. He might be doing a half fist or something. Okay. Make that bicep come out. Also, another thing that makes things a bit too cartoony sometimes is exaggerating muscles. A lot of old school comics, they have these like mutinous type of superheroes like the Hulk, where they just have like muscle on top of muscle and stuff like that. It gets a little bit too much. This one I have more of a sculpted feeling. I'm going for, if I can actually make out where his kneecap is supposed to be. Should be a muscle here, muscle there. Yeah. It's not very realistic, but might get the job done. And I was wondering about his pants. Conan pants, it should be something, wild, not too modern. If you even call these pants, what do you call them? It's probably a special word for them. It's like some kind of, like a sash or something. That would be like the Indian thing. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's like you skin some animal and you make material out of it, and then kind of do something like this. There might be a part of it that's like stitched together, something like that. So it's the idea is it's supposed to feel wild, right? It's not supposed to be like a factory made kind of thing. But at the same time, I don't want him to look like he's in a diaper, which is basically what's coming out right now. Gotta bring it in a little. And nothing wrong with our hero being well hung, but it looks like he's got a football in there, so bring that down a little. A little bit more realistic. Okay. Those are things I don't really enjoy thinking about or talking about, but, you know, it's part of reality. When it comes to drawing, you just gotta do that stuff. Again, with the hair, I don't want it to be too exaggerated. It'd be like we're going into the what was it, like the 70s era of like hairspray bands and stuff. This is Conan. Shouldn't be hairsprayed. Yeah, that helped out a lot too. A bit more realistic. I'm just having a tough time getting this, what would you call it? Just want his hair to come down a little. I couldn't get that angle. Sometimes that curve. It's great to be able to spin the canvas around with this software here. If it was paper, of course, I could just flip it as I do. And we still have to consider the reality of hair. He's going to have something like bangs coming down. Be some shading in here because of that. It'll be something like that. And it's funny how once you fix one thing, other problems start to pop up. But I didn't want this to turn into, you know, this full-fledged inking exercise. I'm just trying to get the general layout here. And I think we're about there. So now I'm going to hop into painting mode. I'm going to start thinking about colors and stuff. And what's big practice with me recently is making sure that I have the foreground colors with lots of darks and bright highlights and stuff, and background colors should fade off. This is sort of like a rocky, basically a rock, a big boulder or something he's standing on that's at the top of the hill. And so I have the layers here, which I haven't named them yet, but back here there's going to be the distant mountain thing going on. I have some trees coming off this way. I'm going for the Christmassy kind of evergreen type of thing. Don't know why. They'll just be like, you know, behind the cliff, and I might need to look up some reference for those. I don't want to make them too, you know, like stock image clip art kind of trees, but somewhat realistic. What do you call them? The evergreens or something. It's kind of weird. Evergreen, he'd be in like a cold location, but here he is in his Conan glory, with like no clothes on, but not no clothes, but you know, dressed down as Conan is. That's just how it is, though, because he's Conan. He can do that. Yeah, I think it's about there. So there's, I did 3 layers, or that's what I'm working on at the moment anyway. And the back layer is going to be the sky area here. We'll have to figure out how that works. Again, with the clouds, the ones that are closer should be darker and maybe more radiant with light. And then as you go off into the distance, of course they get smaller. I'm going to show the perspective in the sky because we're kind of looking up. That's the other thing to keep in mind. And now I'm going to do something that, when I get into color now, which basically I'm going to do right now, there's something that you see a lot, and I keep wanting to make a point of this, is that you have this, I don't know how to say it, there's sort of that little feeling of, hold on, I'm thinking while I'm painting here, there's kind of a feeling that there's this inspiration, this beam of light, this sort of hope, a glimmer out of nowhere that always seems to add to the drama. And how do they do that? Well, a lot of the image is dark, and then you'll have this one point of light where everything seems to come out from, and that gives this dramatic effect, which you don't have to do, but it's an interesting tool that you can use. And it's kind of weird, like the way I'm describing it, it's almost like a cheap trick, but that's actually, I mean, that's exactly how I feel about it. It's just a cheap trick, really. So I could have like the light focusing on him, like this, and then in the other areas, yeah. So it'd be like maybe the sun is behind him, and it's making this radiant glow. It tapers off to the sides like that. It's just that you choose this one point of light, is basically what I'm trying to say. And that one point of light becomes sort of a focal point for the whole drawing, painting. It adds, it just adds that certain something, that feeling. I don't have the words for it, really. But as you can see what I'm doing here, that's basically what I'm talking about. And that's not, that's not going to be the be-all, end-all. That white there might turn into a totally different color, and I can play with it. But it's just to say that I added some kind of like depth of, it's a basis of the color values. You have darkness around, and this light is just popping out. And he's going to be popping out in the front, like that. And for now, I can go right over his feet and all this other stuff. So you start off with this really dark areas and really light areas. And it helps you to know, where the light's coming from. That makes a very dynamic feeling. Now we'll go up to just a layer beneath Conan. So I have 3 layers here. Remember, we have this foreground, which is Conan himself. We have the midground, which is the mountain and the trees behind him. And then we have the background. That's about it. Am I doing this on the right layer? It seems about right, yeah. Of course, there's going to be different colors for his boots and stuff, but I'm just fleshing it out right now. Something with Krita, I love how it feels when you're painting with Krita. It has really good pressure sensitivity, just the way that the default settings are. It has I can brush lightly and just get a little bit of opacity out of the color, or I can push hard and it'll really dig it in there. But sometimes when I try to change that setting, well, I can change it, but it doesn't really stick. And I've read about that, and that's basically just how it is at the moment. It's a new software and they're working on that. So with the light being behind him like that, I'm not going to have too much fun drawing the front of his body, because it means he should be all dark in the front. However, I don't have to make him that dark, and I can also have reflective light, which could be anything. It could be he's standing in front of he's looking down upon a big city, and there's some lights shining up towards him, bouncing off of his body here, or anything like that. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do, basically. And get into the greens. I'm going to have some color around here. In a moment, I might even decide whether or not. So you see, because we're on different layers, I can go ahead and brush freely right behind his feet there. Not have to worry about that. I'm trying to think, do I want to make this snowy? So add like these evergreens should probably be darker. I have like, a snowy mountaintop kind of thing. But yeah, Conan. What layer am I on? Hold on here. That is a color layer. Oh, that's an actual background layer. That's the wrong layer, so I need to add one. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully this will work better. Anyway, I just might have covered up some of my previous stuff there. Oh, I'm on a low opacity. No wonder it's not working. Is it working now? No, now I'm on erase. Okay. So you can see how good I am at this software. not at all. But yeah, you have the with Conan, you have the movies and stuff. The reason I don't really feel qualified to make the quintessential Conan is because I haven't read the books, which is where he started from. I recently joined a subreddit where they have some info on that. It's all about this one writer whose name I can't remember. Maybe after I get the book, I can set that to memory. But I feel as though I just know enough through comics and movies, and everyone just knows Conan. You see his picture. One thing is Frank Frazetta is one of the best artists. For me, he's like one of the best illustrators ever. His art is just jaw-dropping. And he just did some amazing Conan work. I don't know how that came to be. If he was like working for a particular company, or if he was commissioned to do that work, or if he just likes Conan. I don't know the history behind it, but he did a ton of work like that. And even some work which was not Conan, it just has that Conan feel. I think I've looked through a lot of his art. I think it was like a fantasy thing. This type of fantasy, not the also with like wizards and sorcerers and stuff like that. It was just this era of this type of style of fantasy where there was magic, but you had this medieval kind of feel, I think is what it is, where you got like swords and dragons and all that kind of stuff. I'm on the wrong layer again. But it doesn't matter. The important thing, if you're on the wrong layer and you draw over something that was supposed to be on another layer, well, you're not really doing any damage in that case, but you want to make sure that you keep your layers, the things that are supposed to be together should be together. Otherwise, later on, if you decide to change something on a particular layer and you find that some of the things on that layer were actually, or some of the things that belonged on that layer were on different layers, then you have a problem. Okay, so there's a foundation right there. I've, it doesn't look attractive or anything, but I have the feeling of where I want everything to be. I have this darkness is seeping in around the edges like this. I almost wish, I might take advantage of that one thing which I normally don't like, this right here. This might actually come in kind of handy. I can go like this, yeah. Because I do up-down lines a lot better than I do the side swiping. Okay, how did that work out? I still need to find a button that'll zoom me right back to the here's upside down. There should be a button that'll bring me right back to the regular mode. Okay, so I gotta take a break and look at this and think about how I'm gonna move forward, and I'll be right back in a second. Okay, so I also took a look on the internet, that big fancy thing, with the Google thing, and one thing, I don't want them to look too childish in comparison to other stuff that's out there. Also needed a bit of inspiration. So, I mean, not even just inspiration, but what is Conan, like a reminder. One thing is to add a little bit more stuff to him. So I thought, because he seems to be a lot more, I don't know, he's got more accessories, or however you'd put it, when you look at him on these other, and all these other illustrations of him. He's not that simple, even though he's barbarian, but he's got some style going on. He's got these little knickknacks and doodads here. I did plan on putting stuff on here on his boots. Has to get something like just to make it look like primitive shoes, but not not so much primitive, maybe sort of like some kind of like lacing or braiding or something that's holding it together. These are going to be, because it's like a animal hide, so this part around here is going to be something like you know, the inside, no, the outside, the furry side. So it'd be something like, you know, the hair of some animal would be coming out here, and get back. Yeah, it should come like that. I don't want it to be like a sheep or something, because it has to look kind of, but it's wrapped around, so it'll be a little thicker. Anyway, they're just boots. And the other thing was a necklace. This seems to be very Conan. Even if you go back to the Frank Frazetta illustrations before, I think that was long before. I'm not sure if it was before the Schwarzenegger movies or not, but they had it. The Schwarzenegger film had it, and more modern. There's like a TV show which I'd never even seen before that had it. This necklace here. It's like looks like it's like tiger teeth or something like that. Anyway, that does look better like that. It looks cooler, more sophisticated. And I do plan on doing something with a sword, like some design on it. I could even do something like this. Pull that out, make it look like you know, you always got to have a little bit of extra design, something to make your art unique. So do something, even though that's not very unique, but do something there. And what I'm going to do with these layers, just flatten them. So I have 3 layers. Previously I was painting behind, where is merge down? Yeah, I was painting behind the sketch layers. Right, like that. So you can see you have the black sketch on the top, and the merge is underneath. But now I'm just going to merge those together. And this is the one where it's on the wrong layer. Merge with the layer below. But that's okay. What I'll do is hide that for a moment. Go back to this one. And just make sure that that's all filled in with the color it's supposed to have. It's still behind Conan, as you can see. So this is the middle layer. I just want to make sure that that's covered up with some kind of color. We can change it at any point in time. Okay, so now when I show this layer, right, that should be good. It's covered up. And yeah, I was trying to name it. I called it, I had to save the file because this software will crash sometimes, and you never know what's going to happen. You could lose power or something. So you got to save as you go along. Also, this part here, I should color this in with some kind of color. I might use, I like the color that I have there, although it's the same color as the sky. But that's okay. I'll just put it in there. So hide this layer. Yeah, I called him Conan the Overseer because it has that kind of look to it, where he's just like overlooking some territory. And I got hung up on that for the longest time. I'm sitting here thinking, wait, Overseer, is that a proper word? You know, I don't have the world's greatest English. I speak it, I read it and write it, but when it comes down to choosing the right words, so I look in a Google dictionary definition, and overseer seems to be a word that's more like they're talking about things like management and, you know, the overlooker of employees or something. I'm like, well, that might be a more modern word. That's not right. And then I got really hung up on it, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, what's the right word? Is overlord right? And I kind of feel like Conan is not a overlordy kind of guy, is he? It's like, again, it's more like managing employees, or it sounds kind of evil, kind of wicked, which isn't really suitable for Conan. So, yeah, I'm gonna draw. What I'm gonna do, actually, I'm gonna go back down a couple layers, and I don't even need this layer right now. Yeah, I'm gonna go from background to foreground real quick. So I'm still thinking about a name. Pixel brush. What I need here is sort of sideways kind of brush. Normally I don't go for these kind of brushes. I don't go for the special brushes. I stay with the regular one, but I know there's something that would be way better than this. if I could get one that has sort of an angle to it. Right, something like, basically like this, but I'd prefer it be round edged. I'm looking, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a rectangle kind of shape. Let me try this one. And how do I get out of here? Is that selected? Right, so I have this rectangle thing. That's better. It'd be better if I could even get more rectangle for this kind of stuff. I wish I'd get a wider one. Let me look again. Can I rotation, spacing, scale, even like this, one of these kind of things? No. Because that would help me tremendously to get out that type of a cloud kind of shape. Might even, what if this one? I'll try this one. No. I was looking for something that's very, very wide. Kind of like a rectangle, just a horizontal line. That's basically what I'm looking for. I guess this does the trick for now. I'll just use this. And yeah, let's see what happens. I want the foreground clouds here to be sharper, and the ones in the background, they get fainter and lighter. Go away like that, with the light still shining through that one area. And as we go in the background, make the brush a lot smaller. Hopefully show that things are further away. So that kind of does a trick. A little bit bigger over here. So you just get a feeling of perspective. And I don't want this to be too dark how it is now. I might go, I need a lot more feeling of texture and stuff in there. That's why I wish I could find the right brush. I get some yellow and bring out a sunshine kind of feeling in the middle area on a much lower opacity and a much bigger brush, just like that. You can see some color coming out here and there. There's really not much color going on at all. What if I hide the back layer? So I was wondering if you can see through to the back now. Okay, so I have it pretty much filled in. This is just rough, trying to get a feeling of clouds and some color going on back there. Goes off into the distance. Okay, so I'm going to go in a time lapse with this. As you can see, I'm getting into my mood here where I'm just drawing. So we'll do that. I'm going to finish, I'm going to do all the first draft of background just for this. Go from the background to the foreground. So I'm going to do a rough draft of the clouds here, and then move up to the midground and do a rough draft for the trees, then up onto Conan. And I'll be back with some more talking in a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is focus on the Conan character himself a little bit, and I just wanted to slow down for that. Um, One thing I'm going to do is try and get some different layers going on in the skin here with different colors and stuff like that. This is not necessarily to represent, like, you see I'm using red, so you might think it represents blood or veins or something, but that's not necessarily what I'm going for. What I'm going for is a little bit of randomization here. And, you know, skin, it's, if you look at a painting of a person or a picture of a person and compare it to a cartoon, one of the first most obvious differences is that a cartoon image will be flat, all one color, whereas people in reality don't really look like that. But it's also not to say that, like I'm doing here, we're all randomized or anything. There's just different stuff going on there, different parts of the skin. You might have, it could be true, I guess, you have more like blood shining through on this parts. Maybe skin can be a little patchy. You have different areas of, you know, which might reflect the light differently and things like that. That's all kind of true, but I guess especially around cheeks and stuff like that, there's certain areas you'll have the redness shining through, but that's not exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that should be a bit randomized, really, because yeah, I don't have that. I'm not saying that isn't the case either. I just don't have that scientific knowledge. So I can take some of this red stuff, try and do the cheeks. Don't know if I'm getting that. It's not like we're doing makeup or anything. It's just Conan. And some of these blacks, I'll have to make a decision about whether or not I want it to stay that black, but yeah, definitely not pure solid black. I can turn that opacity up a little bit. It does make it look more dynamic, but it's also a bit unnecessary. And I guess I'm going to start shading here in a minute too. Oops, didn't need that. This here, that there. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen with this part here. We have to add these different layers, get different colors, skin tones coming out. I'm kind of wondering, like, what kind of, I mean, Conan, traditionally speaking, he's a white guy, but also if you look at, it's kind of interesting, if you look at the Frank Frazetta work, he almost has this kind of like Indian kind of look to him. When I say Indian, I don't mean from India, that kind of Native American kind of look to him, which would kind of make sense if you think about it, because he's Conan. He probably shouldn't be like from England or Germany or anything, even though Schwarzenegger is from Pop Quiz. Where's Schwarzenegger from? I think he's actually from Austria. So a lot of people would guess, they would assume it's Germany because his native tongue is German. That's what gives him that accent. But actually, I believe the correct answer is Austria, and they speak a similar language, if not the same. I'm not sure. So, and in the time lapse there, you see what I did? I added this white all around him. It's kind of a halo effect because the light is behind him, so it'll shine around the edges of him. And that's always cool when that happens because it gives a dynamic effect. I'm going to go into a brown, this kind of color, and do some of these things. This is, I don't know what you'd call them. Is it like gauntlets or wristbands or something like this? And as I'm going through this, I'm trying to go over all of these black lines, which are sketch marks. Just the original pencil sketch. It's not really intended to stay that way. I think these, I guess like the material of his boots here would be the same as those gauntlet wristband things. I'm not sure what those are for actually. Just seems to be decorative. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say with the skin. If I zoom back now, you can see how it looks a bit more natural with the skin tone just by using different layers like that. And I'll probably just go back into, I'm a little burnt out today, so I'm just going to go back into the time-lapse mode, and I'll finish sketching up this area here. So I'll see you in a minute. And we're back. I'm not sure how much of this is going to make it to the final video. What is happening here is I keep crashing. I don't know why. And so yeah, I'm going to try and cut the video up and show some of the parts that I'm supposed to be showing here. That's what I was intending to show anyway. And I'm in a black color, wrong color. Okay. All I can do is just keep saving and watching it crash over and over again. So until that's finished, until it's done crashing, I'll just keep, how do they say, trotting forward here. We'll see what happens. If it crashes again, I'm not sure if I can, if I'm going to have the stomach to keep doing this. But I'm at the mercy of the free software here. Can't complain. They provided me with free software. Okay, let me get some of that blue out of there. So you see, as you get off into the distance, it just should get smaller and smaller, basically. Like that. That was the whole point. And there we go. Okay, I think I've learned do not save while in the sideways mode like this. That's what I've learned. That's what's causing the crash at the moment. Could be other reasons it'll crash, but that's one of them. And then we're going to get for underneath the clouds in the background there. I know it's weird looking sideways, but under that horizon, the cloud horizon, there should be some color back there as well, which could be just about anything at this point. Could be blue, it could be, it's dusk, so it could be that thing. It could be nighttime, it could be sunlight, anything. I just want to show that there's a point there where we stop seeing all the clouds, or where the clouds go off into the distance. Okay, so if I go this button, then that button. No, that's not right. This one. There we go. Now I can come this way, and I'm going to try and save now. It might crash. Let's see what happens. And it crashed. Okay, and so after having spun it at all, I simply cannot save. So whether I be in the spun mode or whatever, yeah, I just keep crashing. What I'm going to try and do is to not spin it like that for now and just get this part done. I'm trying to think. The clouds are above him. Looking at this perspective, we're supposed to be looking up at him, so I'm not sure if we should even see the sky like this the way that we do. But I also don't feel like there's anything I can do about it, because it just kind of comes out like that. So, yeah, let me get some white lines in there. That's not what I meant. I'm trying to represent, trying to show where the end of that skyline is. Do it on a lower opacity, like that. Something like that. It's just a suggestion for now anyway. It's like a placeholder. Okay, so let's get back into this yellowish kind of glow. And again at the lower opacity, I'm going to take away some of this. It's a little too dark. And you can see how I'm using a lot of different colors to achieve these different cloud effects. So it'll give me a mix. And it's not too bad. Okay. See, even with that 20%, it's just like 20% opacity, it's pretty heavy. It has a strong effect. It'll make a big difference with one little brush stroke. And I'm going to try experiment. I'm just experimenting. This is all an experiment. I'm not sure exactly where I want to go with it, but I'm trying to experiment with different things. I did look at some pictures of a dusk sky, evening sky, which this is supposed to be. And although you would have all these radiant sun colors like the blue and, well, I mean not the blue, but the orange and the purple, red kind of colors that you expect to see at night, it also had some blue in there at the same time. So a little bit of blue in there, still looks like a sky. And that's about that. Blue could even be mixing in. I feel what it's missing is that strong, vibrant red that you get. But what is that? Is it a pinkish red or is it this kind of red? It's like that evening sky. I mean, it happens in the morning too. Sunrise and sunset. You get that red that comes out. And it seems to overwhelm the entire color of the sky. Sometimes you can see that red becomes the major color of the entire sky. And it starts bouncing off of the different colors and stuff. Down here I might end up putting some mountains or something. I'm not sure if this line here, is that on this layer? What is that? It might be on a higher layer here. Yeah, yeah, that was up here. You gotta erase some of that stuff. Also, the trees, I kind of felt like it's supposed to be windy, so he doesn't have that much wind going on. What is that? That's on his layer. You can see the wind going on in his hair, but the trees don't have that much wind going on, I meant to say. So I'm going to have to get in there and do that. Make it look like the trees are blowing in the wind. If I'm on this layer here, it looks like... No, that's erase. Yeah, I can cover that. Nope. Don't want to erase that. Trying to erase everything around Conan. And doing a bad job at it. It's getting incredibly boring. Let me just go in a time lapse and I'll come back in a minute because I'm going to clean this up. And I'll be right back. Okay, so it seems I'm not crashing as much as I did. One thing I just did off the camera was add this layer of gradient white. I'm trying to find like the balance in the colors here. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm just gonna flatten that out. I mean, I like the way this is coming out. Just naturally, I didn't really have a plan for exactly what this guy was gonna look like from the beginning. Anyway, the only problem is I have to change the title because I called it Dusk. I don't feel like going through the trouble of making sure it looks like dusk exactly, so I'm just going to leave it like that. This is background. I'm going to add one more layer. I have a lot of work to do with balancing out some colors. I could kind of leave it like that, I guess. But let's say if we were to take this green technically could be a bit more yellow, and I don't want the trees to be the same color as the grass. So yeah, let me go back to that layer. Bring the opacity down a little. It should be a little bit more, should be more yellowish in there. It's just something I noticed is that if you actually look at the grass, if you get a color picker out, and you notice the foreground grass is usually, it's not a super green, it's kind of a yellowish green. Opacity, let's go down a bit more. I just want to put a thin layer of that yellowish green over it. Like that. Which also helps to make a difference between the grass color and the tree color a little bit. Yep, something like that. And we can go a little blue-green. Well, we're going to end up going blue anyway with as we go off into the distance. I just want to add a little bit of different type of color into these trees. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, something like that. I feel like it should be darker somehow, but yeah, maybe that's right. I'm not going to go with my instincts actually. I'm going to go with my brain. My brain is telling me leave it like that. Do want some mountains in the background. I think what I need to do with this is, it's not that it needs to be a different color. I think there's just too much, it's too bright, it's too vivid. I wanted the overall feeling to be a bit more dark. Not that it's bad like this, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So now as we go off into the distance, we need to get lighter, and we also need to have less, get further away from the orange. So on this layer, I'm going to do more mountains, and just slowly have it go off into a darker, not darker, what is it called, a bluer kind of color. Mountains have a tendency to roll. I'm not even sure if these are mountains or hills. So that's like the ones behind, directly behind this hill, and then we'll go a little bit more bluer, a little bit more lighter, and we'll go, well, would have been nice if I had another layer. Yeah, just like that. They'll get a little bit smaller, so go back there. I guess we'll get to the point where you just can't even see them, unless I had like a giant mountain. This one might be going up further, something like that. So I did want them to stand out a little bit. And even just a little bit more blue, a little lighter, like that. Go off. So maybe it look like the mountains are getting bigger as they go off into the horizon there. I'm not sure if this will work. I'm just going to try it and step back and see what happens. Yeah, not too bad. But I actually feel like these should be darker. So this one be a little bit darker. But not too dark. I'm not sure if I have the right color there. This would have been easier if I also did like separate layers. Probably would have been a good idea. But that's not what I did. So for now, just do this. This one goes here. Okay. And with this one, also a little bit darker. At least I can just show shading. They don't have to be completely darker. I just feel like it would make sense that the side facing us should be a lot darker because the sun is behind it. So they shouldn't be so lit up. They were kind of like glowing before. And choose this color, a little darker again. It would be okay for this one to be much darker because it's closer to us, so you can see more of the the depth of the values in the shade. So something like that. I don't really like that too much, but at least it fills in the space as I needed it. It's kind of a random scene where he's just standing on this hill on a rock. Yeah, if I zoom out, it's got the image I was looking for, but the colors are not there. I need to take a break, and I think I might give it like an overall color, maybe just, you know, give it a color theme where everything's kind of red or everything's kind of blue or something. I'll have to think about it for a minute. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm still feeling a little brain dead today, but I think what I'm going to do is add a layer here. I think I'm going to try and get more of this redness out. There's a couple of different things I could do. I could try and make it darker as it goes off into the distance, or I could try and make it lighter. But something has to be done. I have to choose a color too. Something like that. So if I tried this, this is a red. Just to give it a overall theme. But that's kind of weird because the if I do that, then I have to cover up the mountains as well. So I would have to put this up here. Yeah, kind of like that would make more sense. So that everything is just getting redder as it goes into the distance. But I'm just not sure if I like it. Let me try it with blue, light blue, which would kind of make sense because it's a blue sky. Let me do very light blue over here. No, that's too much. And a little bit more blue here. Okay, and then go in with the strong white and make a big fat line back there. Kind of like that. Oh no, that's going to make this crash. Although it kind of looks cool. I spin it around. Gives me a different perspective. Okay, since I spun it, I've learned that every time I try to spin it, it crashes. So I'm going to stop here. I'll just go into a time lapse anyway. I'm going to try different colors, and then there's just a lot of color balancing I need to do here, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. I didn't really intend for it to go on forever anyway. It has a painterly look on the Conan area here. It's very rough, but that's kind of what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for you know, high detail, what do they call it, like photorealism or anything. It's a little comic-y, but that's okay. One thing I am going to do, this isn't finished, I'm going to keep working on it, I'm just stopping the video here, but I was sitting there thinking about it, what's wrong, why is it just like the mood is wrong or something, and I think it's just too cheery, like all this green stuff going on. back there. It's not Conan-y, you know. There should be more like he's usually in like desert kind of areas. I don't think he's bound to that. He can go. I've seen him in like cold areas. It's usually like more barren places though, not trees and stuff. So what I'm gonna do is for a final step, I'm probably just gonna take out not all of this green since it is a mountainous area, but I'm probably going to cover some of it with make it more rocky, and maybe have some more rocks coming up in the, you know, like rock formations coming up in the background as opposed to all this greenery and stuff. Maybe there's even like a castle or something going on in the background, but I'm going to do that outside of the video. You'll be able to see the finished one regardless. When it's done, just go to my website and it'll be up there, or check it out on Reddit or Facebook, wherever I happen to see it. That's all for the video, though. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and don't forget to click the thumbs up button and subscribe. See ya. Bye.